The EVE Online Catalyst expansion has just had a major content update added to the game. This came as such a shock to me that I had to stop editing a video I was working on, still coming out. Subscribe so you don't miss it. So that way I could get you the information of all the things that have just changed in EVE Online. Carriers have been buffed, Black Ops battleships have been nerfed. Let's get into it. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lynn Rankin and today we are going to be covering the Catalyst Major Update. Like I said in the intro, I was literally working on another video when this dropped and I had to drop everything. There has been a lot of changes added to this update, so we're going to get straight into it. I'm not going to cover the major update post just yet. We're going to talk a little bit about that at the end. Instead, we're going to talk about the patch notes directly. We're going to get right into all the little details, starting with a brand new crab beacon specifically for carriers, a Concord Carrier Rogue Analysis Beacon, a crab. So this brand new carrier specific Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon has been added. It spawns rogue drone NPCs that will not attack drones or fighters. No drone aggro. The scanning phase lasts 16 minutes instead of 10 minutes. This means that you're going to be in there a lot longer with more rewards. But this allows you to do 4 of these a day. And for each use, you actually generate less signal interference. So you show up a little less on the map. You still show up on the map, just a little less. And this is an interesting and I think good change. Concord beacons can no longer be deployed within asteroid belts. Now, the reason why this is important is what was happening was Roracles were running crab beacons and using their panic modules. And you can only use a panic module, which is near invulnerability, when you have an asteroid locked. So this prevents Roracles from running crab beacons, which I think is a fair change. Now, if I still lived in Null, I would definitely be trying this out. Next, we have carrier changes. So we have a whole suite of carrier and fighter changes. The transition period for the integrated sensor array seems to be over. I don't know if you can still exchange them for loyalty points, but at least right now, you can no longer fit the network sensor array. That transition period is over. And the carrier cargo capacity for all carriers has increased dramatically. Like, holy cow, the Mimitar carrier, 3,000 cubic meters. This is definitely going to help when you're trying to squeeze just a little extra with your carrier suitcase, or even just carrying an extra couple cap boosters. Now we're going to get into fighter changes. Overall, we're seeing the same kind of theme here. We're seeing a reduction in squadrons. We're seeing an increase in shield capacity, and we're seeing an increase in damage. Now, we're not seeing an application buff to fighters yet, but what we're seeing is, yep, a 50% increase in HP with a squadron reduction. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to cost carrier pilots a little less when deploying fighters. It's going to cost them 20 to 30% less ISK because there's no mention here on material changes for fighters. So this is going to make sure that while we don't have a damage application buff yet, this I feel gives CCP a few options down the road. With less fighters per squadron, it's going to be a little easier to balance damage application to smaller ships. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. Force auxiliaries are getting a new cap booster amount per skill level added, with the Gallente and Mimitar versions getting an extra little buff here with the total. I do like this change. I don't have much to say on it. This looks like it's mostly in response to surgical strike. So I think this is going to help fax pilots stay on the field a little longer. Now we're going to get into a pretty interesting set of changes, specifically a balance pass for the Society of Conscious Thought ships. So the Metamorphosis is getting a 20% reduction to all weapon types, not to drones, thank goodness. The Synesis is getting a 5% damage reduction, a reduction in cargo hold, which means it's not going to be so oppressively used during exploration-based events. It's also not going to align out as quickly. So this is going to push players more towards the covert ops or the Tech 1 or even faction scanning frigates. We have a 5% reduction to all weapon systems for the Gnosis and a 5% reduction to all weapon systems for the Praxis, not drones. While this has reduced the value of a low skill way for players to get into PvE and even PvP. This does reel in the effectiveness because these were pretty effective. So that way it pushes players more towards specializing rather than generalizing. So a mixed change, I feel, but it could be good in the long run. What do you think? So we've got some changes to the RECON ships in their max target range. I don't have much to talk about here, but I am going to talk about the Black Ops battleship changes. There have been nerfs, there have been buffs. Overall, all Black Ops battleships are getting their armor plates and shield extender bonuses removed. And the Redeemer is hit the most. It's had a full turret slot reduced. This change is going to force Black Ops pilots to pick more defenseless targets rather than taking on and ganking targets that have teeth. For a while, Black Ops has been reduced to Redeemers online. So having a reduced turret slot is going to force players to potentially switch into some of the other variations here of Black Ops battleships. But overall, all Black Ops battleships are getting their tank reduced by not having the armor plate or shield extender bonuses. And in the case of the Panther, it's getting its tracking bonus removed, but it's getting a 15% heavy stasis grappler fall off bonus per Black Ops skill level. So at level 5, a 75% increase in fall off range. A lot of the changes here appear to be bringing more utility to the other Black Ops battleships, so that way it's not just Redeemers online. We've also got here the Widow getting a rate of fire bonus increase from 7.5% to 10%, and the Sin is getting a 10% bonus to their hybrid weapon. So yes, all Black Ops battleships are getting their tank nerfed to the ground, but this will force them to pick their targets a little more selectively, and hopefully we'll see a little more variety in Black Ops ship usage rather than just fly Redeemers. Now we get into some really interesting stuff. Triglavian lovers rejoice! You now have a Tech 2 extra large weapon platform for your Zernitra. You are getting a 20% reduction in your Tech 1 version of your extra large disintegrator. However, that's to help push you towards that Tech 2 variant. So you're going to get a brand new specialization skill. You're going to get Tech 2 ammunition for the Tech 2 disintegrator. And this adds an extra 2% bonus per skill level, just like any other specialization skill. Zernitra lovers, are you in love with this change? Now, this is a huge change and a huge buff to carrier pilots. We are getting additional opportunities for our Tech 2 fighters to do even more damage with these specialization skills, with 2% bonus per skill level to the damage of these fighters, depending on what specialization you train. So more skills to train, however, more damage for your fighters. Now, what this means is that Tech 2 fighters that you have will require this new specialization skill for you to even launch them. So keep that in mind before you go into combat today. Pochven will now drop more loot on death, and Pochven and Trig minor victory systems penalties no longer affect Triglavian ships. Wow, no more lock penalty or warp speed debuffs while in these systems if you're in a Triglavian ship like a Vedmak or a Drekovic. This is going to be huge, and I know a few Vedmak and Ikutursa pilots who will be jumping for joy at this news. This is a huge change here. Locator agents are no longer able to give the location of capsuleers within Pochven. A new message appears stating that they are within the region that cannot be pinned down. Now, with this new message, you are still going to be able to interpret that someone is in Pochven, but you're not going to get information such as they're in Niarja. T2 Triglavian salvage can now be purchased within the Triglavian loyalty point store. So this does require the hypervigilance cores or the stellar surveillance data and a little bit of ISK, but wow, that's a very interesting change. We've got a lot of Pochven changes here, mostly to do with combat site balancing here. I'm not going to be able to go through all of this just because I do not run Pochven sites. I'm not going to be able to give a fair assessment on whether these are good changes, bad changes, or if these are changes. Now, one thing I will talk about with Pochven is CCP is changing the filament spool up time for outbound Pochven filaments, while also decreasing the timers for going into Pochven. This means going into Pochven is going to be what looks to be about 20% faster to get into Pochven, but 20% slower to get out of Pochven via a filament. So it looks like CCP's reason for this is it was acting as a barrier of entry, the increased amount of time for getting into Pochven or using ice storm filaments, but increasing the risk of actually using the Pochven highway to begin with. Overall, do you think this was a good idea for CCP to implement these filament timers to begin with? What do you think of the new outbound timer changes? Let me know in the comments. We've had some changes to the wormhole pop-up here, where instead of lifetime, it says reliable lifetime instead. So that way, if you see a message that says less than 4 hours remaining on life, it's reliable that it's going to be less than 4 hours rather than 4 hours. So minor verbiage changes here to that information panel, but I think that's a good change. Now, this is going to be an interesting change, and we're going to cover it over on the other tab here. Wormholes that connect to drifter wormhole systems no longer appear automatically and must be scanned down. This is going to be a huge thing for force projection, I feel. Homefront operations. Now keep in mind, I don't run Homefront operations, so I'm not going to be able to comment too much on whether these are good changes or mixed changes, but what I'm seeing here is a lot of buffs. I'm not seeing much of a nerf. Yeah, I'm seeing mostly buffs when it comes to the Homefront operations. So you let me know if these are good changes or if they're not. Now, with the Catalyst expansion, it introduced Prismaticite, which allows you to refine Prismaticite randomly into any sort of mineral in the game, or you can control the reaction and get specific minerals that you are looking to get, such as isogen or pyrite. However, it took 60 minutes for a reaction time to go through, and now this has been reduced to 6 minutes per run. This is a nice change. This means that players can be a little bit more reactive to changes in the market and convert their Prismaticite into minerals to take advantage of short-term market fluctuations that in turn, I feel, keeps the market in check. And then we've got a good change here, I feel. Players will no longer be informed when they have attempted to invite an offline player to a fleet. So I feel this is a good change. It applies consistency to chat behavior and it keeps harassment in check. What do you think? So we have here a bunch of little things added to EVE Online. These are the little things that just make things a little better. So I'm going to go through each and every single one of these. Added a splitter between the capacity gauge and the search field in the inventory so the search bar can be made bigger. Yes. The search field will always try to be at least 120 pixels wide, but can become smaller if there's less area available. This is good. This is good. Change the global search field so the text is not cleared automatically when search is performed, and added a clear button. Yes. Thank you, CCP. Thank you. This is a little thing, but it's a big thing. Added a right-click menu option on a skill in the skills menu that allows you to put all levels of the skill in the skill queue. This is nice. This is nice. Change the inventory sorting in the inventory so the setting is stored per character rather than per user like it is now. That's nice. The cost of non-destructible implants will no longer be included in the warning when you self-destruct. This is good. This is good. So your implants like the Genelution and Aurora implants will no longer scream at you going, "Hey, don't destroy me, even though I'm indestructible." Thank you, CCP. This is actually one of the reasons why I actually did not invest my ISK into getting a Genelution implant. Maybe I will. Added Alt+0 as a default shortcut for the market order window. This is good. This is good. Added a shortcut not bound, so you're going to need to bind it yourself, to approach and open RECs and cargo containers in space. It should work like the target shortcut. If you have the rec/cargo container selected in the overview and have focused in the overview, using the shortcut should approach and open it. This is a good change. This is a good change. Thank you, CCP. Abyssal and mission runners rejoice. Added an X icon in the search field's history entry, so that way it allows you to remove entries from the history. That's good. And added a clear button to the asset search field. All good changes, all good changes. And we have here, in preparation for the Gallente elections, the new Pride of the Federation skins and select Freedom combat suits have been added to the game. We have a couple fixes in regards to Pochven. I'm not going to cover these. I'm going to get straight into the Catalyst Major Update article. A lot of the changes that we talked about here, we've got meta changes, sharper rolls. We've talked about the BLACKOPS battleships increasing their damage potential, but their durability decreases, pushing them more towards the hit and run aspect. Like we mentioned, the Force Auxiliaries are getting their capacitor booster bonuses now, so that way they can be a little more sustained on the battlefield. Carriers are continuing to be incrementally involved, so that way it's not just a stark dramatic change or shift. So that way it gives CCP a chance to incrementally introduce changes to carriers, so that way they can more accurately rebalance this ship that has been out of balance for years. The Zernitra is finally getting that Tech 2 weapon system. We're getting a new crab beacon specifically to carriers, the Crab. We're getting Pochven improvements, which is refining the combat pacing, rewards redistributed. Now, I'm not a Pochven player, so I can't fully comment on whether these are good changes, bad changes, or grr changes. One thing that is a good change is the Triglavian ships gaining immunity to Pochven system debuffs. So I think that's a good thematic change. Now we have some force projection changes happening in regards to Drifter Wormhole. Now, before today, Drifter Wormholes would appear on your overview and you can warp directly to them. Now you have to scan them down. I think this is a good change for two reasons. Reason number one, this is going to be a good change for new players who don't know what this is, warp to it, and then see a Drifter battleship and wonder why it's locking them up. Reason number two, this is going to add a little friction with a third partying fleet and make them think twice on joining on an engagement, because now instead of just taking an interceptor and speed running through a chain to find the battlefield, you actually have to take a scanning frigate and go through. I feel this is going to give just a little bit of friction and reduce third partying just a little. I don't think it's going to be a huge change. I think it's a good change. I don't think it's going to be a huge change to force projection. Next, we have the Gallente election. If you haven't been caught up on the EVE Online lore, the previous president for the Gallente Federation has been impeached and removed, and now the Gallente Federation is holding a election with 3 candidates, and it's going to be an event. So starting tomorrow, there's going to be a new event track where, depending on who you support and who you run missions for, you are going to get rewards, and your completions will essentially be votes on who gets elected. So for this event track, you're going to get new drones, new officer modules, plex, skill points. You're going to see we have the different presidential candidates that you can support. You are still going to be rewarded just by logging in daily with skins, skill points, boosters, evermarks, and more. And then yes, the candidate who receives the most Capsuleer support will become the next president of the Gallente Federation. So don't forget to subscribe so that way you don't miss my coverage of this event, so you can maximize your gain for the Gallente elections. And then we have some special offers until March 24th. Capsuleers will get 10% off Plex and receive free Zydrine burn skins for the Cheetah, Rook, Hubris, Astarte, Heretic, and Widow. And there's also a new Eden sale for up to 15% off for 1 month, 3 month, or 6 months of Omega time, and you'll get some skins here. So we've got a nice skin for the Lachesis and the Viator. For the Plex sale, if you go to Marquee Dragon, you can use my code Lynn for an additional 3% off your order. So that is the Catalyst Major Update. What do you think of this content update? What do you think of the Black Ops changes, the carrier changes, the Pochven changes? Let me know in the comments down below, and who you are voting for in the Gallente Federation election. If you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a like so that way I know to keep making videos like this one. If you really enjoyed this video and want to catch the next video, consider subscribing. We're getting close to 4,000 subscribers and I'm super excited about that. If you really enjoyed this video, why don't you check out my original coverage for the Catalyst expansion? I think you'll like it. I want to take a moment to thank my YouTube and Patreon members. Your support means the world to me. I could not do this without you, and your support helps keep the channel going. Bye-bye now.